All right. Um, all right. I'm gonna mute everyone.
Good afternoon.
Give me a second. Just gonna switch.
Good afternoon, Yossi. We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Okay, I'm gonna put my video on. Wait
Yeah,
1 second.
I don't see your video. There you go.
Oh. Okay. Give me a second. I'm just gonna. Okay. Gonna mute everyone. And no. Just gonna take it. Give me 1 second. Just taking attendance.
Shalom, everyone. Shalom, Rabbi Smith and Rabbi Yossi.
Shalom. Okay. Now let's get started. I'm gonna mute everyone again. And all right. So last class we finished the first chapter in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch on the laws of Shabbos, chapter 72. And today we're going to start the next chapter in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, chapter 73. Before we start chapter 73, I just want to clarify something from last class. Last class, one of the things we talked about was insulating. So insulating before Shabbos, we said, was permissible if you do it, if you are insulating with something that's not adding heat. Or if you're insulating with something that's adding heat, but it's not totally insulated. So to clarify this idea, according to the Alter Rebbe, if you're insulating with something that's adding heat, it has to be that the let's say the pot or the tin foil that's being insulated has to be mostly uncovered, mostly exposed. So if you would have kugel and tin foil, and you want to put the kugel in the cholent, the kugel has to be mostly outside out of the cholent. It could be in the pot, but it has to be mostly not in the cholent. And the same, and kishka also, it would have to be mostly outside. There are those that are more lenient with kishka, but they say it's part of the cholent, so it's not considered being insulated by the cholent. So it would have to be mostly exposed, unless you make holes into the tinfoil that makes it consider that it's not they're not too. The cholent and the kugel that's in the tinfoil or the kishka that's in the tinfoil, they're not too different. They're not two different things. They're not considered that they're two separate foods, but it's considered as just one dish. Okay, so that's just to clarify about last week's class. Now today we're going into a totally new topic. Now before we get into the new topic, I want to we have to get some fundamental ideas, talk of some fundamental ideas about Shabbos. On Shabbos is a day of rest, that we don't work. Who is commanded to keep Shabbos? who is commanded not to work? The commandment is for the Jewish nation. This commandment that a Jew should not work on Shabbos, a Jew should rest, is the commandment just that you shouldn't work? Whatever is considered working, whatever the Torah says is forbidden labor, you shouldn't do. For instance, cooking and making a fire, writing, and so on, all the different forbidden labors. Is the Torah just commanding you that you shouldn't work? Or is the Torah commanding that work shouldn't be done for you? Even if you're not doing the work, the forbidden labor, but if the forbidden labor is being done for you, someone else is doing it, did the Torah also say that that's forbidden? So the answer is that when the Torah commanded that a Jew should not work on Shabbos, it includes any work being done for a Jew. So a Gentile, if a person, a Gentile, it's not permitted, it's forbidden for a Gentile to do work for a Jew. Let's say, an example of this, a person forgot before Shabbos to heat up, before Shabbos, a person cooked chicken and whatever food they want, they prepared for Shabbos, let's say some chicken for Shabbos. And they did this Friday morning. They cooked food Friday morning. They cooked some chicken. And now before Shabbos, they want to heat it up so the chicken will be hot Friday night when they eat their Shabbos meal. But a person forgot to heat it up, and now it's already Shabbos. They would not be allowed to ask a Gentile to turn on the oven, since it's forbidden to turn on the oven on Shabbos. Just like it's forbidden for a Jew it's forbidden for a Jew to turn on an oven on Shabbos. It is also forbidden for a Jew to tell a Gentile to turn on the oven for him. So that's just an example of that you're not allowed to get a Gentile to do work for you on Shabbos. So this is the question that I want to ask everyone. And if anyone wants to share their thoughts, please do.
Yossi, Rabbi Yossi, your volume got lower. I don't know what you just did about 10 seconds ago, but your volume got a little bit lower.
Okay, I'll try to speak in a different angle to the camera.
Much better.
Okay, thank you for notifying me. So here's the question I want to ask you guys.
Now the volume is low again.
Is it low?
Well, it was high when he said thank you, but as soon as he finished, you got low again. You must have turned your head away from the microphone.
How is it now?
Very good.
Okay. Higher up.
Yeah, the middle, just from the back.
Okay. So here's the question I want to ask everyone. What's the reason that the Torah said when the Torah commanded that a Jew can't have a non-Jew do work for a Jew? Why? The Torah wants the Torah wants us to rest on the day of Shabbos. As we spoke about in the first class several weeks ago, that it's a day of rest. Hashem rested on Shabbos. So so Hashem wants the Jewish nation, Hashem's nation, to also rest on Shabbos. So that makes sense why we can't do forbidden labor ourselves. Why is it that we can't even have a non-Jew do forbidden labor? Yeah.
There's two levels of why. The one I was going to say is it's written where it's first written about Shabbos, I think in the Ten Commandments, neither you nor your manservant, nor the proselyte living with you, nor your animals should work. I still can't answer why, but I think it does say that your servant can't work for you.
Correct. So here's even so you're saying that you're showing a place in the Torah that says that where even your, not just you can't work, but even your servants. But in the law that I'm saying is actually, I'm taking it a step further. Even if a Gentile isn't your servant, they would still be forbidden to do work for you if it's for you. They're doing work for you. So what would be but it's a very good, you brought down in the 10 Commandments, it says that in the verse in the 10 Commandments, which is a very good verse that says, it's not just that you can't work, we see that other people can also work for you. So anyone have any thoughts? What would be the reason that you can't have a Gentile work for you?
Well, I think it is that they don't want work to be done in your household.
Yeah, going on that
Okay.
same theory that you don't want work done in your household, it could tempt you to do something that you're not supposed to do, maybe.
Very good point. Very good point. Very good point.
Is it we're not supposed to benefit from work?
So there's a lot of
Right.
details about this. There's work. We're gonna get into all the details of the laws throughout we'll try to see how much we cover, but we're not gonna get through we're not gonna get through everything today. It's gonna take at least a few classes. Even in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, it's not all in one chapter. There's different chapters that talk about it. So the point, the idea of benefit is one of the things, but that's not everything. Even in cases where there isn't benefit, it could still be forbidden.
Well, I think, at least my understanding of that commandment is not just your manservant, your maidservant who are forbidden to work, but also your donkey and your ox. So it goes
Right,
on to
even your animal.
forbidding your animals to work for you.
Right. So biblically, those are forbidden to work for you. Now, according to the according the rabbis institute according to the now rabbinically, it's even forbidden for any Gentile to work for you, even if they're not. You just let's say you want your light to be turned on Shabbos. It would be forbidden to go out to the street and tell a Gentile, I'm sorry, this might sound strange, but today's my Sabbath and I'm not allowed to turn on the light. It would be forbidden to ask the Gentile to turn on the light. Even though that Gentile is not your servant or maidservant. Biblically, it just says a maidservant, a servant, a donkey, right? Doesn't say any. It doesn't say any Gentile.
There's another issue that I see to going out to the street and asking any passerby to come in and turn on your light. You don't know that passerby is not Jack the Ripper.
That's a good point. Yeah, but right. That's a good point about my example. You're 100%
You'd also
right.
have to ask if he's Jewish first.
Exactly.
That still would not exclude.
So I want to go back
he might be Jack the Ripper.
I want to go back to what Miranda said. A very good point.
Jewish doesn't mean he's not Jack the Ripper.
That it could lead you to do forbidden labor. It could lead you to not to do work on Shabbos. There's different reasons why we say why it's forbidden for a Gentile to do work for a Jew on Shabbos. But I want to stick this is one of the key reasons that's brought is that in order that it doesn't lead us to do work on Shabbos, if one has a Gentile doing work for them, it could cause a person to lose appreciation for Shabbos. No longer is Shabbos just the day that things are just being rested. It says Rashi commentaries in the 10 Commandments when the Torah speaks about keeping Shabbos. The Torah says for 6 days you shall work, and Rashi comments, what does it mean for 6 days you shall work? For 6 days during the week you should do your work, and when Shabbos comes in, it should be as if all your work is done. It should be in your eyes as if you don't need to do anything. It will never enter your mind to think of doing any work, you or getting another person to do a work for you. Because Shabbos, it should be a day of rest, and we should be not connected to mundane things in a manner that we don't need the mundane things. We're on a higher level when Shabbos comes in. So Shabbos, the world's on a higher level. Just like, let's say, when one is, if one is in front of is in the presence of a king, a human king, they would have to act differently, and they couldn't they would have to dress differently, act differently than they are when they're just in their home, not in the presence of or somewhere else that's not in the presence of the king. When you're in the presence of the king, you have to act and you have to behave in a higher level. So this is also Shabbos. Shabbos is this idea. We're on a higher level. The Shabbos brings the world and the Jew to a higher level. So it's not fitting to do mundane things or to be connected to mundane things. It's the way on Shabbos, on Shabbos, it should be a time of resting from mundane things and just have a holy day. So in other words, the not doing labor on Shabbos is kind of causing us to have the opportunity to have a holy Shabbos, a day that we could not be distracted by the mundane things, even though that during the week it's very good to do the mundane things. During the week it's good to do the mundane things, to do all it through doing the mundane things during the week. You elevate the mundane, the things that are lower, you make an elevation on them and bring holiness to these low things. But on Shabbos, it's a difference. The way we serve Hashem on Shabbos is differently. The world is on a higher level, and you shouldn't be involved in mundane things. So that's the idea of so since Shabbos is all about this idea of having a holy day, not being involved in mundane things, you shouldn't even be involved in, have a connection to have mundane things being done for you, have forbidden labors being done for you, even by a Gentile. And also that it could cause a person, if a Gentile is doing work for you on Shabbos, it could belittle Shabbos too and cause and it might lead to one doing themselves One doing a forbidden labor, the on Shabbos.
So how come so many people hire what they call a Shabbos goy?
So there are exceptions, and there's the general rule that there's not that you can't that in a there's general rule that you can't have a guy do a Gentile do work for you on Shabbos. There are situations that we consider it not working for you, rather they're doing it for themselves, or other scenarios. It's we're gonna learn about when are the times that it's permitted for a non-Jew to do work, and it's not considered for forbidden work that the non-Jew is doing. There's a lot of conditions, but the foundation has to be that that work can't be done for a Jew, even if the Jew isn't doing work. To give us an understanding of this whole topic, to start learning this topic, that has to be like the foundation.
So
Then we're
if
gonna
Gentiles going to partake in the stew that you have in the oven, and the Gentile is permitted to turn it on.
So there are it's common. There are certain cases. We'll have to see when you could use a. So the idea of a Shabbos guy is it's not just like always we could just get a Shabbos guy. Regularly, you can't get a Shabbos guy.
The whole concept of
See when it could be.
the whole concept of hinting at a go is very, very narrow. Actually, you can't just willy-nilly hint that you need to have something done.
Say that again. Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, what most people think is permitted is that you can hint, HINT. You can
Hint.
Yeah, you can hint to a goy what you need to have done, but it's actually a very narrow level of permissibility. You have to know, when you can, when you can't. It's not so pressure, not so simple.
Yeah.
Rabbi, could I ask one question?
I just want to say
It's Mel. I wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
My question is this: if you have, let's say, you hire a new maid or whatever for your home, and you don't tell them all week necessarily. You tell them on Shabbos, you can't do the lights, whatever. And by chance, this person goes into your bathroom and they take out your laundry, or they go to the laundry room and they start doing the laundry. You have to stop them in their tracks, or are they allowed to just complete what they're doing and then tell them after Shabbos?
Okay, so we're gonna learn about this. Maybe we should wait till because we could have a lot of questions.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully we'll get up to today, this idea. I just want to all the detailed questions. Let's see. We'll learn it inside. So we'll see inside this. I just don't want to say everything because there's a few different points about it.
Mhm.
And so let's first learn it inside, and then we'll be able to understand it and not just we'll go in order going through things. All right, so let's start with learning chapter
Rabbi.
73 in the Kitzur Aruch. Yeah.
This Shabbos is a holy day for Hashem, and the Jewish people are to be a holy nation of people. We have to do what Hashem requires of us with no rationalizations. That's what it boils down to. I don't use the oven. I don't make any heat. So Friday, I make salads, and they're in the refrigerator. Or I make hard-boiled eggs, and I have rolls, or whatever. I eat a hot meal after Shabbos. I have plenty of fruit during Shabbos. If you have a family, it's a little different. But regarding a maid, when you hire someone, you tell them what they're required to do. You tell them and explain about Shabbos. Nobody does the laundry. Nobody turns on lights. You leave a light on, correct? But if we're to be really a holy nation with Hashem, for Shabbos, we have to act like we are. We have to walk to shul. We have to do everything
But
the
there
way
is a,
we're expected to do it.
Okay.
but there is a
Sure, if a
mitzvah.
person is ill, it's a little different.
Okay.
Rabbi,
There's a
I
lot-
just want to interrupt just one thing because it's important because of the Sadducees. They only held the Torah per the way it is, without meforshim, whatever. But I'm explaining myself. Having a hot meal on Shabbos like cholent is a mitzvah. So you have to, I think that's an important thing for you to explain. And I'm gonna not talk anymore. Thank you, Rabbi.
Well, in the olden days in Eastern Europe, they used to bring the cholent to put on the butcher's
But I'm
hot
talking
plate.
about, but it's a mitzvah to have a hot
I know it's a
meal on
mitzvah.
Shabbos.
Okay, sorry. Just want to. There's a lot we could learn today. There's a lot of good conversation going on. If you have questions, I could send you my email, and you could ask some more questions. Just want to cover some of the topics that some of the halachas, the laws that I plan to learn today with you guys. With you.
Did you put your email someplace, or do we send it to Rabbi Smith if we have questions?
I'll put my email. I'll send. You could send. Let me see. I'll try at the end of the class to put my email on the group.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. So, chapter 73, we'll talk about in which manner is it permissible to give a work to a non-Jew before Shabbos, and the laws of lending and leasing utensils to a non-Jew. Just so that in the beginning of this chapter, it's going to first talk about giving work to a non-Jew before Shabbos. If there's 5 conditions in order for one to give work to a Gentile before Shabbos. You have to have all 5 conditions. If one of these conditions are not met, then it's forbidden to give work to a non-Jew before Shabbos. Let's see the first halacha in chapter 73. Asur lahaniach la'ivi kechavim sheyasem melachas Yisrael b'Shabbos. It is forbidden to allow a Gentile to do work for a Jew on Shabbos. Usamchu ala pasuk. This is hinted to what it says in the Torah. It doesn't clearly state this in the Torah that it's forbidden for a Gentile to do work for a Jew, but it's hinted to. And something that is hinted to is only considered forbidden rabbinically. But how is it hinted to in the Torah? Because the Torah says, "V'chol malacha lo ye'asa." Any work should not be performed. Demashma afilu ayidei oivit kachavim. That it's implying work being done even by a Gentile, if the work's for a Jew. V'im meiser lo'ivit kachavim etzam malacha be'erev Shabbos. If one gives over work to a Gentile before Shabbos, on afalpi she'ivit hakechavim oise b'Shabbos, afalpi she'ivit hakechavim oise b'Shabbos mutter. Even though that the Gentile is working on Shabbos, it is permissible. Aburak be'elu ha'efanim, but only under these conditions. So now we're going to list the 5 conditions.
Rabbi Yossi,
Yeah,
point of clarification. I thought it was mentioned that in the Aseret Dibros, it said that your servant, is there a presumption that your servant will be Jewish and won't be Gentile? Because if it's an expectation that could be either, then to say it's solely rabbinic is not correct.
so a good question. Good question, Mani. For your servant to do work, it's a servant is referring to even a Gentile servant, So that would be biblically usher, biblically forbidden. So if for your servant, your maidservant, your animals, that's biblically forbidden for them to do work for you on Shabbos.
But is that because they're part of your household?
Let me just finish off, then I'll take a question. But a Gentile that isn't your servant or maidservant, that is not biblically forbidden. That's only hinted to in the Torah, and it's rabbinically forbidden.
If you have a contract with somebody, if you have a contract to do like a bar mitzvah, aren't they your servants?
We're going to talk about that in halacha gimel, the 3rd halacha.
So, Rabbi, is a servant considered part of your household, like part of your family? Is that why they're forbidden, or is there another reason?
I believe that's the reason. I think that's the reason. So what are the conditions? What conditions have to be met in order that it's permitted to give work to a Gentile before Shabbos? Condition number 1, Aleph. Sha'ovid kechavim yikach hasachefetz beveisei shal Yisrael kodim haShabbos v'loi b'Shabbos. That the Gentile has to take the object out of the Jew's property before Shabbos, and he's not allowed to take the object out of the Jew's property on Shabbos. So you have to make sure that the Gentile leaves your house and your yard before Shabbos. That's condition number 1. So what's an example of something that you have to be careful of? An example is if one has a package that they want the UPS or FedEx or USPS to pick up. It would be forbidden for the mailman to come and pick it up on Shabbos, since that they're doing a forbidden labor on Shabbos. It's only permitted if they would pick it up before Shabbos. So if they come to your house Friday before Shabbos, it will be permitted. But for them to come on Shabbos, although you're not doing any work, it's just the Gentile that's doing the work, it is still forbidden, as long as the package is in your house or on your property. Another example is, let's say someone for sending their laundry to a laundromat or to the cleaners, they have someone that's going to pick up their laundry, that's going to pick up their clothing. In so if someone's having their clothing being picked up, it has to be picked up before Shabbos. So to summarize, halacha 1, halacha aleph, is that it's forbidden for a Gentile to work for a Jew, on Shabbos, and to give work to a Gentile before Shabbos is permitted under certain conditions. And we learned that the first condition is that the Gentile has to leave your house and property before Shabbos. Now let's go on to halacha beis, the second halacha that will tell us the second condition that has to be met in order for a person to give a Gentile work before Shabbos. The second condition is that you have to set a payment with the Gentile before Shabbos. The Gentile has to know that he's being paid for the work before Shabbos. Let's see halacha 2 inside. Beis, the second condition is sheyiktzos le'evi hakechavim schare, that you should set a payment, you set amount that you're going to pay the Gentile. What's the reason that you should set the amount that you're paying the Gentile? She'az hu eisa es hamalacha b'shvil atzmai. Because then the Gentile is doing the work for himself. Why is it for himself? Because it's for sheyikabu schare, that he should receive payment. And then he's not working for the Jew. The Gentile is in such a case, the Gentile is not working for the Jew. Rather, he's working. The reason why he's doing this work is in order to get paid. It's for his own benefit, and not for the Jew's benefit. And therefore, if one has a Gentile servant, Gentile helper, for a certain duration of time, it is forbidden to allow the Gentile to do forbidden labor on Shabbos. Since that the forbidden labor that the Gentile is doing is only for the Jew's benefit. Because the Gentile already has a set amount that he's going to be paid. He has a set, he was hired with a set salary. Let's say you hired cleaning help you hired a servant for a month. You already made up that you're going to pay the servant a certain amount for that month. And if the servant does this work for you on Shabbos or not, it's not changing the amount that the servant will get paid. So the work is solely for the Jew and not for the servant, the Gentile servant. V'ovid kichavim hanesea leize mokim v'Yisrael neisen lo yigeresh v'yisiel shama. And a Gentile that is traveling to a certain city, and a Jew gives the Gentile a letter that he should bring there, they should carry to that city. V'siel gam b'Shabbos, and the Gentile is going to be carrying the letter also on Shabbos. It is necessary for the Jew to pay the Gentile for carrying his letter, for carrying the letter. For what purpose? In order that the Gentile is doing the work of carrying the letter for the payment and not voluntarily, because if the Gentile was just doing it voluntarily, it would just be the work is for the Jew and not for the Gentile. So what are some? So
I'm
what are
sorry.
some?
There's just-
Yeah.
So you pay them
Rabbi-
first? You pay them before Shabbos, or you just say, oh, you'll receive $100 for doing whatever the amount is? Or how does this work? I'm not figuring this out. Can you
Good
give
question.
an example?
So literally what the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch says is that you have to set an amount. You don't have to pay them. You don't have to pay the Gentile, but the Gentile has to know that he or she will get paid. Even it doesn't have, they don't, the Gentile doesn't have to receive a payment before Shabbos, but they have to know that they'll get paid.
So the work is only for Shabbos, though. It's not for the whole month. This is like the one situation.
So in this, we're going to actually touch on that idea. It's forbidden. We're going to touch on that idea in Halacha 4. The idea of working for on Shabbos. Here we're just saying that the second condition, it's kind of like these 5 there's 5 conditions and we're only looking at one angle at a time. Right now we're just looking at the angle of that you have to wait.
Rabbi, can I ask you something that happened to me over Shabbos this past weekend?
Wait one second. I want to finish my point. I want to finish my thought. We're only looking at one angle at a time. Right now, we're just looking at that you have to have one of the conditions is that you have to set a payment before Shabbos. Is it that they're allowed to do work on Shabbos? It's going to be discussed in a different condition. That's going to be condition 4. So about this idea that you have to set payment before Shabbos, what would be a case? What would be the law if you just go to the cleaners, or you take your car to the mechanic, or any other type when you're asking a Gentile to do work for you, and it's just kind of known that you're going to pay them. You're going to pay the person that's doing the work for you, even though you didn't tell the person that you're going to pay. But it's understood that obviously that if you're coming into my shop, you're going to, and you're asking me to do work for you, you're gonna have to. I'm gonna charge you to do the work. So the law is that would also be considered like you're setting a payment. It would also be permissible. That's that it's necessary to set a payment. It would have this. If it's self-understood that there's going to be payment, then it's permissible, even if you didn't tell the person in the shop that you're going to pay. If it's self-understood, since it's self-understood, it's permissible.
Rabbi, yes.
The idea of all what's necessary is that the Gentile should know that they're going to get a payment.
Rabbi Yossi?
It
would seem to me to be cleaner if you're going to a place like cleaners or somebody that does has a routine of doing things and they decide when they're going to do it. You're simply paying them to perform the cleaning task, or even if you're building like a house. The contract, you're going to tell him the ways and means of building the house. He's going to build it. He might work on Shabbos, he may not work on Shabbos. Your contract's not going to specifically address it. But if you're hiring a caterer and the event is going to be on Shabbos, Dafka, you're especially paying him to work on Shabbos. And if it's a Jewish-owned caterer, how is that not a violation?
Okay, it's a good question. Maybe it's a good question to send me through the email, just because I don't want to get too off topic. With it's not a quick answer. It's not a quick answer either, and I want to just keep to the topic, keep to where we're holding. But I'll be more than happy to answer you afterwards. If you could send me an email. Sorry that it's just not right now on the topic, and I want to kind of stick with the topic. So
Rabbi.
Yeah.
5 minutes after lighting candles this past Shabbos at 5:11 on Friday, something happened to me that I had to knock on the door of my Gentile neighbor to drive me to Aventura emergency. It was an emergency. All right, after all the testing, et cetera, at 12:30 in the morning, Saturday morning, we wound up at Walgreens to pick up a prescription. There, the pharmacist told me the prescription, based upon my allergies, I should not take because it would be very detrimental to me. The doctor who wrote the prescription in emergency didn't even look at my profile on record with the hospital from Walgreens. Okay, so my neighbor and she drove me back home. I called emergency back, spoke to the nurse for the doctor. You gave me the wrong prescription. You didn't look that I'm allergic to one of the ingredients in that prescription. All right, he'll call back Walgreens. 2:00 in the morning, I wound up at Walgreens picking up the proper prescription. Now, I'm in violation, yes. But if I didn't knock on my neighbor's door 5 minutes after lighting candles, I might have been admitted to the hospital for the serious condition that I was in. Now, did I violate my neighbor by asking her to drive me, and then I drove myself? Now, isn't this where you could save a life?
Yeah, when it's life-threatening,
that is permissible.
It's permissible, yeah. Any doubt of life-threatening. So,
right.
Yeah, let's get back to the topic of where we're holding. So, just to...
Oh, I didn't have to pay her for taking me.
If it's life, if it's a question of life, if it's something, if there's danger, if there's danger to someone's life, you don't have to do any of the. You don't have to worry about is it permissible or not. You just do it. You don't have to. And it could be done in any manner.
I thought so.
Okay. It could be whatever.
Thank you.
It's a different topic. Let's go back to setting. So we in the halacha beis, the second halacha, it also said about it also said about carrying a letter. So nowadays we have post offices. We send everything through mail. You're always allowed to put something in the post office in your mailbox before Shabbos. You never have to worry about a non-Jew doing work for you without payment, since firstly they're getting paid for their job, for doing their job. Secondly, you also put a stamp on your envelope, which kind of is paying for the job to be done. Okay, let's move on to the next halacha. Halacha. I'll just first say a summary of the second halacha, then we'll move on to the third halacha. A summary of the second halacha is that the second condition is that you have to set some sort of payment, set a payment to the Gentile before Shabbos. Or the Gentile has to know that he's going to be paid before Shabbos for the work that he's doing for you. And therefore, you're not allowed to have someone that's helping out in the house, a Gentile that's helping in the house, do forbidden labor on Shabbos, because in that case, they're not getting any more payment for doing the forbidden labor for you. And when you send a letter, which I said it's not so applicable nowadays, when you send a letter, you have to pay for the letter. If someone's traveling to a city and you want to send a letter, if a Gentile's traveling to a city, you have to pay the Gentile. Halacha 3, halacha gimel, is going to tell us the third condition.
Rabbi Yossi.
Yeah.
A quick question. What if a person lives in a Jewish village or town and most of the people there are Jews and he's worried about the mailman picking up his mail? Or should he be worried about the mailman picking up his mail?
So I didn't look, from the research I did, it seems to me I didn't see any issue. I can't say I'm positive, but I'm almost sure that it doesn't, even if you live in a Jewish neighborhood, that there's almost all Jewish people around in the neighborhood. It's because the Gentile that's doing work it's doing it for this is the government work that he does. This is the work for the city work or the town work. However, I'm not exactly sure the exact details of that, but it's not working for you personally. It's working for the community or the state. I'm not sure if it's the community, the state, the city, or the state, but they're working not for you, but it's like government working for the government. I don't know exactly how it is, but something along that idea. It's not considered really working for you when they take the mail from your mailbox. You wouldn't be able to put putting the mail in the mailbox on Shabbos is a different story, but putting it in the mailbox before Shabbos and they come on Shabbos would be permissible. So now the third condition is, we said that in the second condition, we said you have to set a payment before Shabbos. The third condition, which this is kind of someone touched on this idea before, is what method do you have to pay the Gentile? The method is you have to pay the Gentile, pay him by the task that the Gentile does, the job that the Gentile does, and not pay by hour or by day. So let's see. Halacha gimel. Gimel, the third condition is haschar yehi katzuv l'chol hamalacha. The payment should be set for the entire, you should pay for the entire task, the entire job. And the Gentile should not be paid by the hour or by the day. So if you're paying a Gentile by the hour, but you demand that you're telling the Gentile, you're paying the Gentile by the hour, but you're telling the Gentile, I'm paying that you have to complete the whole job. For instance, you take your car to a mechanic, and you tell the mechanic to, you tell the person that's working, you tell the mechanic that you have to repair the car. You tell them the whole job they needs to repair. even if you're going to pay the mechanic by hour, since that the mechanic has to complete the task, it's considered that you're paying him for the task. But if you're paying someone just by hour and you're not telling them to complete the task, then it's a problem. Then it would be forbidden. So if you give a job and you just say work, let's say you give you have some sewing that you want to be done, and you say, I want to pay you for 2 hours of sewing, or some typing that you want someone to type something, and you pay. Just say, I want you to type for a couple hours. So since you're not paying for a full task, it will be forbidden. Now, case that it's permitted, there's, let's say, sending your car to a mechanic, you're paying, and you tell them to do a job. You bring your clothing to the cleaners, you tell them to do a job. Whenever you're telling them to do a job, it's permitted, even if you pay by hour. Let's see if we could do one more halacha. Halacha Daled, the fourth halacha. In the fourth halacha, we'll learn the fourth condition, which this condition also, people touched on it, is that the fourth condition is that you can't set the work to be done on Shabbos. You have to make it possible for the Gentile to do all the work before Shabbos. And it's just the Gentile's choice that the Gentile is doing the work on Shabbos. Let's see inside. Daled. So the fourth condition is it is forbidden to set up that a Gentile will have to do the work on Shabbos. And even if you don't clearly tell the Gentile, do the work on Shabbos, rather you just set a time that the work has to be completed by, which is a little bit after Shabbos ends. And it's known that it's impossible to finish the work by that time unless the Gentile would do the work also on Shabbos. At least part of the work would have to be done on Shabbos. So Gam came Asur. So in such a case, it would also be forbidden. And likewise, if you send a letter in the hand of a Gentile, you give a letter to a Gentile, and you tell the Gentile, bring it to this city, and it's known that you can't reach that city unless you travel also on Shabbos. Gam Kain Asur. It would also be forbidden. And likewise, if the day that the market was open was only on Shabbos, so the only day that people would buy things from the store is on Shabbos. Nowadays, this isn't so common. Asur lasis lanachri mais be'arav Shabbos sheikna loy eza davar. Sheyadua she'ine meitzi likneisai ki'im b'Shabbos. It is forbidden to give money to a Gentile that he should buy something when it's known that he could only buy it on Shabbos. So you can't give him an object to sell in a place that the market is only open. The marketplace is only open on Shabbos. Okay, I think we should stop here. Just right now is the end of the time for the class. We'll have to continue this halacha on next week, next class. If anyone has any questions, you can ask your questions now.
Thank you, Yossi.
And
Good Shabbos.
anyone that wants to leave. the
Thank
class
you,
is-
bye.
I want to
Thank
wish
you,
everyone a good
rabbis.
Shabbos.
Thank you very
You
much.
were going to supply
Good
your
Shabbos,
email
Rabbi.
if you have questions.
Good
on-
Shabbos.
Have a
Good
beautiful
Shabbos.
Shabbos, a wonderful Shabbos, and a wonderful week.
Thank you.
Could you put your
Thank you,
email?
Rabbi. Good Shabbos.
Or is it
Oh,
not
let me put my email. Let me try to do that now.
in the
Where's
chat?
the message? Let me see if I could.
Thank you.
Oops. If not, you could, if for some reason I don't figure it out, then send to the ask the rabbi.
Okay, and he'll forward to you.
Yeah.
Okay, good Shabbos then. Have a good Shabbos. Thank
Okay, you want, okay.